this world, believe me. I wish today could be tomorrow. The night is long, it just brings sorrow, let it wait. Thank you for the days, those endless days, those sacred days you gave me. I'm thinking of the days I won't forget a single day, believe me. Days I'll remember all my life. Days when you can't see wrong from right. You took my life, but then I knew that very soon you'd leave me. But it's alright. Now
Please be
I'm not
seated.
frightened of this world, believe me. Thank you for the days, those endless days, those sacred days you gave me. I'm thinking of the day.
Good morning. And didn't she make the most wonderful entrance? Just perfect for Marion. I'm Rachel Thompson and I'm an independent celebrant, and I welcome you all here today to give thanks for the life of Marion. And this welcome is of course extended to everybody joining us virtually. Thank you for being with us. Your presence is very much felt. We are here to mark Marion's passing, honour her memory and reflect the love of all of you around her. We give thanks for the experiences that you've shared together, and we wish her well now that her time here on earth is over. Marion was very much loved and such a colourful character. And she said herself that she had enjoyed a really good life. I do hope that you can find some comfort in the knowledge that when her time came, she passed peacefully away in her sleep. Yet it is as we are faced with her sad loss that we are reminded that life is indeed very fragile, and we try to find the strength to come to terms with this. We may all develop a very different set of beliefs about death, but when someone we love dies, we all share the same feelings of sadness and loss, and we all share the same need for comfort and for reassurance. You are here, of course, because you have loved Marion, and I hope that by sharing your thoughts, feelings and your memories, it will help you in celebrating her life. Marion Ann Brockwell was born the eldest daughter to Anne and Harry, and she had a younger sister, Yvonne. Marion went to Meadrow School in Farncombe, and on leaving she trained as a hairdresser, a skill that she would use throughout her life. Having worked in a salon in town where lifelong friendships were made and reunions held with girls for decades to come. She then moved to mobile hairdressing for the ladies at Way Court, then at home on a Thursday for the regulars, a busy day full of neighbours and tea and conversation, with the odd Avon order thrown in. It was in the 60s that Marion met and married Ron. They moved to Arons Hill and together they had Glyn. After Ron's death, Marion met Tom. Tom was from Dublin and had a very strong Irish accent. Reportedly, when they met, Marion was having difficulty understanding him and was politely responding yes, not realising that she was actually saying yes to a date. But it obviously did work out quite well in the end. She loved joining the Irish side and was very fond of Mrs. Dillon and became very close to Maureen and Bob. The families were always together for celebrations and holidays. After marrying Tom, Brendan joined the family, followed by Sean and Anna. 4 children with a 16-year age gap made for a very busy and diverse home life. Marion was just a little bit of a hippie at heart and very liberal-minded, so she was very well suited to the folk world that Tom's interest in singing afforded. The Stag Folk Club was a favourite, but they also travelled far afield and developed a lifelong love of Sidmouth Folk Festival, a tradition which Marion was keen for the grandchildren to experience, and has enabled them to have annual holidays as a family there, and I'm sure they will continue this in both Marion and Tom's memory. It was helpful that Marion loved driving to get to all of these events, and as you all know, she had a particular passion for the lovely Morris Miners, both travellers, complete with carpeted roof interiors and, of course, the 1000cc models. Marion would be heard pulling into Eashing Lane from the house on Arons Hill. Such was the unmistakable noise of the Moggy's engine. They are characterful cards that always elicit comment and conversation. As an embarrassed youngster, Anna would have much preferred her mum to be driving a new Ford Sierra. But by the time Anna was driving herself, she came to realise that the Moggy was a really cool car. Marion lived most of her life on Arons Hill, Bargate Rise, amongst a loyal group of neighbours: Peggy Dan, Marge Spring, Joyce Weston, Bet Palmer and their families, and she immersed herself with the local school, helping with school trips and fetes, always happy to help, and that help was always gratefully received. Marion particularly enjoyed Rachel's art clubs over the road, and a huge amount of joy was found when Brian and Mina moved in next door. Marion would take great pleasure in knitting outfits for their daughter Pom-Pom, and was just thrilled when she was able to accommodate Mina's parents, who were visiting from Japan. She loved her little waves as children went past to school, and was always so well stocked for the trick-or-treaters come Halloween. She took a keen interest in antiques, and she was never happier than rooting through an antique shop or a jumble sale or car boot, or watching a programme of others doing the same thing. She enjoyed playing games like Scrabble and Rummikub, or card games such as Cribbage or Newmarket, and in recent years being taught Uno by her grandkids, George and Charlie. Marion was a very much loved daughter, sister, auntie, wife, mother, grandmother, friend and confidant. She was well liked and loved by everyone who met her. She loved her family, home and garden, and was never happier than when she was surrounded by friends and family. Seeing her family happy is what made her happy. She was patient, undemanding, and was always grateful for what she had. Supportive, non-judgmental, and always accepting of others. She freely gave of her time to help anyone who would ask, always putting others' needs before her own, without complaint. Compassionate and understanding, as well as that confidant that people would go to for support, she could hold a conversation with anyone and was always an empathic listener. Always looking for the positives in life and forever the optimist, her mantra was life is just too short. She was humble and softly spoken, but would command respect when she needed to. She understood only too well the importance of treating others with fairness, understanding, and equality were the fundamental values that Marion lived her life to, and she made sure that she passed on these values to her children. She had such an excellent sense of humour. Family events would always be filled with fun and laughter, even at the saddest of occasions. When she needed to get something done, she would spur herself on with a "Come on, Mags." Marion also took pleasure in the little things in life. She appreciated art and took up drawing in later life. She was a great cook and encouraged all her children to cook from an early age. There are so many stories to be told of Marion's escapades. For instance, there was the night that she just insisted that a tramp stay for the night, the children only meeting him when they came down for breakfast. And it was during the Greenham Common protest in the mid-80s that she really wanted to help the women, so she drove her Moggy to Greenham and took them toilet paper, which I'm sure they really appreciated. And as I said earlier, Thursdays was hairdressing day in the kitchen, where Godalming Mayor's Mr. and Mrs. Denenberg were regular customers. Ladies would be arriving and leaving with rollers in their hair, and a portable hood dryer was constantly on in the kitchen. And then, of course, there was the unforgettable time that Marion found herself summoned to school by Sean's head teacher, who was not impressed by the unusual new haircut that he was sporting. So he asked her, "So, Mrs. Dillon, how do you feel about Sean's haircut?" And her reply was, "Well, of course I love it. I cut it." Then there was the time that Glenn was hitchhiking with Karen West in Byfleet when they were teenagers. A car stopped to give them a lift, only for it to be Marion. She calmly picked them up and took them wherever they wanted to go and never mentioned a thing to Karen's parents. She was undoubtedly one of life's good eggs. Unfailingly kind, warm-hearted, generous, undemanding, and everyone who had the pleasure of meeting her only ever had wonderful things to say about her. Even in the last months at hospital, it was not a surprise to hear the nurses all remark on how special, determined and strong Marion was. She was so worried that people would only see that she was poorly or elderly, not who she really was aside from these physical limitations. But she would say, "If you look close enough, you'll see it's still me in here," with her lovely sparkling eyes. And of course the family knew that anyway. Marion's spirit could not be dampened for long. Even on the last night that Anna stayed with her, as she crept into the room to check her mum was sleeping, Marion frightened the life out of her as she shouted, "Boo!" And this sense of fun was always evident when she was with her grandchildren, George and Charlie. They were always giggling about something. She was a natural nanny and a huge support to Anna with the boys. She loved seeing them grow up and always keen to find common ground as their interests evolved. Marion always thought the boys would grow out of wanting cuddles, but she needn't have worried, as they loved their nanny cuddles just as much as she did and would willingly go in for the longest bear hugs. Each year Marion had to reach up that little bit higher as they soon towered above her. Marion's open and inclusive nature ensured that as her children all introduced partners to the family, they were welcomed with open arms, and Mick, Johnny, Jackie and Nicky all came to love Marion as their own. A wonderful time in Marion's life was when she bought a small narrow boat called Lark Rise. Moored on the River Way in Godalming, she adored the boat and the freedom it gave her, not just the opportunity for trips on the water, but as her own haven to escape to for a bit of peace and quiet away from a very busy family home. And of course there was no shortage of passers-by for Mum to talk to. Wherever she went, she would strike up a conversation with a stranger and build an instant trust and rapport. She always had a strong independent spirit and was very comfortable in her own company. She would often take her children away on their own or along with friends and their children if Tom was working. They had some hilarious holidays at Butlins with Winnie and Marge, great neighbours from Arons Hill, or visiting Nan and Fred, who had moved down to Paynton in Devon during their retirement. Marion liked to keep busy, and at one time she was a member of several WI groups on Oxford Ridge and Farncombe, plus the homemakers in Guildford. After Tom passed away, Marion made sure she still kept active and immersed herself in new pursuits, such as the art and poetry courses at U3A. She was always happy to go into new environments and make new friends, and some of her greatest companionships had grown from her involvement with the Clock House in Milford. The weekly visits with Barbara, Mary and Pat were eagerly anticipated, as was that day's menu. Marion was always a bit of a foodie and eager to try new dishes, particularly if they weren't her own. She had a habit of grabbing a spoonful from everyone else's desserts, despite not having a sweet tooth. She did have a comically healthy appetite, and this love of food was never more evident than that offered at the Clock House. Marion often praised the talents of the chef and recounted tales of her favourite dishes, and despite many efforts, Sean and Anna couldn't find any arancini that quite matched up to the ones Marion described eating there. The unwavering support of friends from the Clock House was really important to Marion, and I know that Anna and Sean cannot thank you enough. After Marion had her fall back in June, she said how she thought that might have been it. But she was quite content if it meant that her time was up. She was okay with that. She'd lived a good life and a happy and fulfilled life of 88 years, and I think we would all shake hands on that. We are now going to pause for a few moments of private reflection. As we hear Nick Jones singing Now, we will be seeing a visual tribute to Marion.
Be still somewhere, each moment aware that the now is here, so simple and so clear. The past has gone, the future will come. The soul shows us how we're here in the now. Be still somewhere, each moment aware that the now is here, so simple and so clear. Time forever forwards, time forever back. We're forever seen in the in-between. Be still somewhere, each moment aware that the now is here, so simple and so clear. Existent and silent, catching each moment. Time is where, when the now is here. Be still somewhere, each moment aware that the now is here, so simple and so clear. The now shines on between come and gone. Eternally the now shall be. Be still somewhere, each moment aware that the now is here, so simple and so clear.
Gosh, what absolutely beautiful photos. A life well lived indeed. Boys, okay? So we're now going to hear a boys from these lovely young men. I've forgotten their names, of course. Charlie and George. There we go.
Don't lay me in some gloomy churchyard shaded by a wall, where the dust of ancient bones has spread a dryness over all. Lay me in some leafy loam where, sheltered from the cold, little seeds investigate and tender leaves unfold. There, kindly and affectionately, plant a native tree, to grow resplendent before God and hold some part of me. The roots will not disturb me as they wend their peaceful way, to build the fine and bountiful from closure and decay, to seek their small requirements, so that when their work is done, I'll be tall and standing strongly in the beauty of the sun.
Well done. Very well done. That was lovely. Thank you. The time has come for us to make our farewells. Out of respect, I ask you please to stand for the committal. Marion, may the light of love shine forth upon you. May you be forever blessed with love, peace, and understanding as you and your spirit travel on. We honour the way you lived your life. We honour your character and your personality. But most of all, we honour the love you gave to your family and to your friends as we say farewell to you now. You will be loved and cherished forever. May you now rest in peace. Please be seated. You can look through the whole world and there is no one quite like the one you have lost. Marion leaves a space that can never quite be filled, and the space that she has left in your hearts will always remind you of the person that she was and how much she meant to you. Marion was completely unique, and I know that she's going to be so sadly missed. So I'm now going to invite Jackie to come and read the poem for us.
Afterglow by Helen Lowry Marshall. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun of happy memories that I leave when life is done. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you very much. Following today's ceremony, you're all invited to join the family back at the King's Arms and Royal Hotel in the High Street in Godalming. So do go along for a few refreshments and, of course, to continue sharing all your memories. And if anybody would like to make any donations in Marion's memory, they may do so to the Clock House. There will be a retiree collection as you leave, but cheques can also be made out care of Paul Waitman, Godalming Funeral Services, and they can be made out to the Clock House, not to Paul. There really is no answer to death but to live, and to live with gratitude. Now, for us the living, may the love of our friends, the joys of our memories, and our hopes for the future bring us strength and peace that we may go forward together. We have joined today in so much love and respect to remember Marion. As you return to the routines of your lives, enriched by all of your memories and carrying her in your hearts, journey safely, go in love, take care of one another, and may an abiding peace be with you all.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying how do you do. They're really saying I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They learn much more than I ever knew, and I think to myself, myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying how do you do. They're really saying I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They learn much more than I never knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.